Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here. Welcome back to another Cardano live stream. Today I'm sitting down with Dan, who was on the channel probably just a few weeks ago talking about what they're building at Zengate and Palmyra and the whole PAM economy. Actually, probably a year ago nearly, we talked first. It was great to get the updates. And today we're going to get into what's been happening since then. There's been a few big partnerships in the last few weeks. We'll go through what each of them means, and the token sale is coming up as well. So Dan, thanks for taking the time to come back on.
Thanks a lot for having me, Paul. Great to be here.
No worries. And actually, people coming in the comments, let us know if all the audio is coming through and picture is coming through okay. Do share it out. The more people that this is shared out to, the better questions we can get here. I have a few things on my list that I want to go through to get updates. And after that, then it'll be over to any comments that are in the live stream. So make sure and drop them, and I will be going back to them once I get through the few bits. So just for anybody that hasn't heard of what you guys are building and tokenized commodities, real world assets, do you want to give the high level, and then we'll get down into the updates?
Sure. Okay, so essentially the Palmyra platform aims to fill or to solve a $2.5 trillion issue that emerging markets in the commodity sector has, mostly having to do with access to to world markets, access to reasonable finance, and access to digitization. And so essentially this is why we are focusing on underserved commodities in emerging markets, because we believe that that is where most impact can be had and most change can be had, and it's very synergistic with the core mission of Cardano and Ergo, and so it's just in a very exciting field to be working in.
Nice. And you've built a platform for trading these, so as well as tokenizing the commodities, you have a platform, Palmyra. Do you want to cover just a bit of a high level about what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Palmyra is the platform that is going to be solving this $2.5 trillion problem, this $2.5 trillion gap in the market. So the platform has been live. Well, we've launched version 1 actually last year. Version 2 has been live for about a couple of months, which seen many improvements in just in general UX and payments and embedded logistics. And essentially that is what the platform offers. It offers solutions, a combination of Web2 and Web3 solutions, which is essentially what commodities trading platforms do and commodities exchanges do. They offer solutions to buyers and to producers. Now, where we come in is, so on the Web2 side, we have many solutions, like we negotiated rate cards with 2 of the largest logistics carriers for shipping, for shipping products with DHL and FedEx. On the other side, we also have a very robust payment rail. We're using Mango Pay, which accepts really low-cost bank transfer. It accepts credit cards, and again, these things we might take for granted, living where we live. But emerging economies, they don't have this access. It's not it's not easy for them to get this access. In emerging markets, logistics are expensive. In emerging markets, payments and remittances are difficult and expensive. For example, in Sri Lanka, most commodity settlements were done, or spot commodity trading was done with bank transfer, if it wasn't done with cash, obviously. And it was pretty costly. With these payment rails that we set up, it's very cheap compared to what it is. It's very fast, secure. And again, this is just the Web2 side. Now, where it gets really interesting for us in the Web3 space is the tokenization traceability protocol. So I'll start with that. The tokenization and traceability protocol, the Winter protocol, which is what powers Palmyra, essentially uses tokenization to well, to first of all track and trace commodities, and to also create an information chest for them, because really in commodities trading, the information that follows the commodity is just as valuable as the commodity itself. And some of the biggest issues in commodity trade, in large and small scale commodity trade, is lack of transparency. Now, what we do is through tokenization, we can embed these services. We can embed traceability. We can embed authentication. We can embed things like anti-counterfeiting, for example. We can embed digital identities. All these things are that can be used for ease of transaction, for transparency, for accountability, for auditing, and to de-risk things, to de-risk for the Western markets, and for markets that they cannot access yet because there is not enough clarity. Like for instance, some markets are already or will be very, very, very soon requiring traceability. Like for example, the American FDA is going to require traceability starting next year. The European Union is also working on these sorts of regulations. So essentially, if you don't have traceability embedded, you're not going to be able to access a lot of these markets. So this is also for future proofing the producers market access. Now, beyond that, this is actually another. So what you do here is you de-risk, right? So you just keep de-risking, and by this de-risking, by this gathering information, you allow access to markets that they didn't have access before. Now let's take it a step further, right? We're actually essentially working on what's called trade DeFi, so decentralized trade financing. So all these tools that are powering Palmyra will very soon, probably at some point later this year, is when we're gonna start launching trade DeFi tooling. Are going to allow for MSMEs in developing economies to have access to much more reasonable trade financing. Now, currently, a lot of these emerging economies and producers in these emerging economies either have no access or low access to trade financing altogether, or if they do have access, it is at a very high premium. An example I always bring up is Sri Lanka, where those who can access, and this is not everybody, this is only the big boys, they can access this trade financing, now pay something like 30% per annual. We can do better. We can do better with our family of de-risking tools. What we can do is we can actually bring DeFi into the trade financing ecosystem and allow for DeFi to actually offer borrowing opportunities for these commodities traders. Now, this is so currently in DeFi, you have things like, say, yielding, right? So you have stable coins, for example, and you do yield farming, and you do something like, I don't know, 8 to 10% if you're doing well, right? Now, I'm not going to mention any numbers because it varies, but think about this. If you're lending right now, say you're yield farming on a platform, there's some de-risking that can happen there, right? But there's not a lot. It's not collateralized a lot of times. It is, I mean, you're at the mercy of the platform. If the platform gets rugged, you're rugged. Here, you actually have collateralized lending, because what happens is, on the trade financing side, what you have is the actual commodity that is being leveraged against the borrowed monies. So you are de-risking the same way a bank would de-risk, the same way a bank does right now that offers trade financing. You would de-risk as a participant in trade DeFi through the tooling that Palmyra has. And yeah, I mean, I know I got you know, I get a little carried away with explaining this because it's also exciting to me. You know, it's always it's not just a job. You know, you see, we've been to these jurisdictions, we've spoken to the people. They're excited, and we're excited that what we're offering is actually going to make a difference. So yeah, my apologies if I kind of went on a little too much here.
No, I think that gives people a good introduction to the project and some of the use cases for it. And the one that really excites me that I will probably be participating in is the trade DeFi part of it. I know when we talked the last day, and I heard some of kind of what these producers are actually paying in interest rates or that type of thing. And it's crazy what they have to pay just to be able to do business, and that there is such an opportunity there for people who have funds that want to get involved in DeFi that could actually provide it to RealFi. It's something on Cardano we've heard for years about that. That's where there wants to be a change, and this is something that can really make a change. It's one of the few win-wins that you actually have. Generally in crypto, you're trading against someone else, or when you're fighting for the yields that's inflating a token that's out there, and there's not much actually bringing in that real yield. So something like this, where I could put up my funds and put it out, someone, a farmer or whoever it is, can take a loan against that. They're happy to pay a lower interest than to pay to someone local there, some, I don't know, loan sharks or whatever way it is. And we're both happy. I'm earning a yield on it. They're able to produce in their business and obviously make profit to reinvest into their own business. So I love that type of use case for crypto, and we don't see it often enough. Too often it's the other way. It's the same funds circulating around, just around in a circle. So it's great to see that. Just on the tracking and tracing for some of the assets moving around, you said that there's regulation looking to come in on that. Do they care if the tracking is done through blockchain, or is there preferences there or regulations around what needs to be done?
So they are actually looking at traceability standards versus traceability technologies per se. Now, blockchain technology has been looked at, and it has been audited by governments for traceability. So I don't think that, and we haven't seen any kind of, you know, whoa, no blockchain, no, talk out there. It's all about the standards, right? So it's all about, if you can comply with this information standard, it works, right? So the different jurisdictions have requirements. If you have to fulfill these requirements, there is, I believe there is something like 14 different requirements that are going to go into effect. And you can, if you can fulfill all of these requirements, then yeah, you can use blockchain traceability. Yeah, we haven't seen any kind of obvious pushback against that.
Okay, yeah, and look, we're all fairly aware of the advantages that blockchain can bring, and how once it's in, it can't actually be changed, and there's full traceability of it over a centralized database, which always does have ways to change it. So actually, Damon, sorry I missed that. I will check that after this. Looking at recent announcements that you guys have had. So you've had some partnerships recently. World Mobile was the first. Do you want to give an overview of that one?
Absolutely.
Another project I'm a big fan of.
Yeah. So are we. I mean, we've well, look, we have actually been well, Mickey's a friend, right? So the World Mobile community are, you know, our bros and sisses and our peeps. We've always been very close to the World Mobile community. I mean, Theo, Chef, who is the head of ops at Zengate, is like a huge World Mobile guy. You know, he's a known World Mobile guy. In fact, I think I see him wear World Mobile gear more than I see him wear Zengate gear. But it's okay. We'll fix that. I mean, maybe. I like World Mobile gear. I mean, it's a great brand. And World Mobile and especially Mickey has been very kind of I mean he's been helping me out for quite a bit now, giving me guidance on how to set things up better, connecting things for me and for us as a company. And we also taken pointers from how they do their business, because we, like I said, we're big fans, and it's a model that works. And while their product is different, right? Their customer segment that they're focusing on a lot of times is very close or the same as us, and the markets are the same as us, so it's very synergistic. So this is why this partnership was meant to be. Um, World Mobile is connecting the unconnected, right? And what we're doing is we're serving the underserved. Where they bring connectivity, we bring market access. Both things work hand in hand, and this is exactly what we're going to be doing. A lot of these developing economies, a lot of producers out there. I mean, look, if you're a producer in Sri Lanka, chances are, and you're probably in a rural area, you're not going to be in the city, right? If you want to use our platform, you need internet. You do. It's a matter of, just the base.
Yeah.
If you don't have internet, if they don't have internet, they're not going to be able to use our platform effectively. It'll mean that there's going to be a lag. We can't have that. With World Mobile's help, we can fix it. We can figure out where to send up an aerostat. We can figure out where to set up basically where they need telecoms, and how to accommodate the area so that they can better utilize our technology, and vice versa. When World Mobile goes to other regions, to new regions, they come up to opportunities a lot of times where a platform is needed for trade. A trade platform is needed to be so that the businesses can utilize the telecom solutions that they bring, and that's where we come in. And so they actually can utilize our platform to do trade on, while they utilize World Mobile's platform to connect with. So it just makes sense. It's as simple as that, and
Yeah.
it makes sense.
You also had Minutes, which is founded by Mickey's brother. There's a partnership there as well.
Yeah, Josh Watkins. We're working with the Watkins brothers. Both brilliant guys. Josh is the younger brother, and he's got his own telecoms. This is a telecom family. Minutes is actually it's very cool. So Minutes specializes in termination and call termination. And so without going too much into it, call termination is where quite a bit of the cost of the call that is being made is either mitigated or incurred, right? It just depends on who's terminating these calls. And so what Minutes is doing is it's providing very efficient and inexpensive termination services. With that, they can basically provide, and that's where the minutes come in, right? So the minutes that you're basically buying are actually our minutes of like it's part of the termination service, right? Is the call termination service. To make it simpler for the user, they just say minutes, right? But there's all these different moving parts that come into. It's not just a minute somebody pushes the switch and you talk. There's a lot of there's moving parts that are happening there, right? And all these moving parts is what costs money. So this is why these minutes are essentially a commodity. And right now they have their own token, which is going to be representing the minutes, and you can purchase these minutes with, and you can also, I don't want to speak too much into it because I haven't really done enough research in the specifics of what the token does. But as I understand, it's a way to trade to earn the minutes as well. There's also a passive income model that they have with their protocol, where you can utilize unused minutes to create an income. So a lot of really cool sharing economy options here. A lot of really cool sharing economy opportunities. Now, what we're going to be doing with them is mainly, and this is not the only thing we're going to be doing with them, but the two kind of lowest hanging fruits are, so the first thing, and this is going to be a little bit down the line because they're about to release the the SDK for this, is going to be an in-app call function. So essentially, with the way we're thinking about it is, think call your driver in Uber, right? People need to hear a voice on the other line. People need to connect, right? Especially if you're using, say, a local logistics service, which is something that we're going to be incorporating into Palmyra later on, because in a lot of these commodity trading economies, commodity producing economies, what happens is there is international logistics, international shipping, but they're also local, because you have, say, a smaller farmer that is working in a remote region that grows tea, right? But then they sell this tea to a factory. The factory is the one that processes the tea and packages the tea and sells the tea. So there is kind of the farmer themselves, sometimes they do have direct sales to people, and they can utilize their platform for that. But a lot of times they'll just sell to the factory, and the factory is the one that's going to be dealing either with the tea auction or selling direct. And so they need to get their crop to the factory. A lot of times it's done with local logistics. Now, these local logistics are unreliable, but they need them. They either need to bring them themselves, or they need to hire somebody to bring it to the factory. Now, these local soft commodity logistics services are not a new concept. There is actually several operating in Africa right now. We want to put this on the platform later on. So, for example, say in this situation, right, you might want to be able to contact the driver, say, hey, so what's your ETA to get the crop to the factory, or something like that. It's just, it only makes sense. Customer service, contact customer service, because we have liaisons. We have an office in the jurisdictions that, and say, for example, in Sri Lanka, that is specializing in relations in that region. So you want to be able to contact that office through the app. I mean, there's many different case scenarios where you would like to actually get a live person on the phone, and doing connectivity through the app makes sense. Now, that is one piece of what we're going to be doing. Now, the other one that's going to be really cool is actually commoditized minutes. Now, as I said, minutes already tokenizes their minutes, and they're going to be expanding that. What we can essentially do is continue this process by actually. So what they do is they sell these minute blocks to larger telecoms, right? So they sell the service in minute blocks to telecoms, and what we can actually do is put them on Palmyra. So you have tokenized, commoditized minutes on Palmyra that can be traded like a commodity, and spot bought and sold like a commodity. And actually, there are regions out there, like, say, regions in Africa, where telecom minutes are actually used as currency, because their local currency is unstable. So what's more stable? Minutes, because they still have smart device penetration. They still have access to the telecom operator that is offering the minutes. So they use minutes. They use minutes to transact as currency, which is just markets adapt. So all these things are super exciting for us. All these things are what we can do with minutes and beyond. I mean, Minutes Network is a fantastic company. They're doing a lot of great things, and we're super excited to be working with them.
Great. And then I suppose the bigger one that you announced was Chainlink. So there's been talk over the years of Chainlink coming to Cardano. We've never seen that fulfilled, as in them coming in as an Oracle service. We do have, like, Damon is there. We have Charlie 3, and then there's OrcFax. But what's the partnership with Chainlink, or how's that going to work?
Right. So So this is actually this is part of the trade DeFi as well as Palmyra enterprise services that we're going to be offering. So to create the trade DeFi opportunity on Palmyra, what we're going to be doing is tokenizing warehouse receipts and bringing them on chain. And so essentially, this is how currently how trade financing is done. It's done through warehouse receipts. And so when a commodity producer deposits their crop into a warehouse, into a bonded warehouse that does commodities, that does warehouse receipt issuance, they can get this warehouse receipt and then go to a lending institution and actually borrow money against it. So it's collateralized lending. There's even platforms out there that trade warehouse receipts. So when when you have to do clearing, for example, or default. So there's a lot of tooling out there that's already being utilized for trade financing and through warehouse receipts. Now it's still very, it's bulky, right? The process right now is bulky, and this is why a lot of even say neobanks, for example, they just don't have enough de-risking tools to be able to offer trade financing to these smaller producers, as well as to be able to for us to be able to offer trade financing or trade DeFi to these smaller producers. Of course, you would need to offer de-risking tools to the lender, which is, it could be you, Paul, could be anybody from the Cardano community. Now, putting these warehouse receipts on chain, you're essentially giving you, Paul, the same tools that a bank would use, that a big bank would use to de-risk themselves when they're lending money to producers. So it only makes sense that these tools are good for you because it creates a risk profile, and you can identify risk profiles this way. So what we're going to be doing essentially is, like I said, we're bringing these warehouse receipts on chain, and we're doing so with the use of Chainlink's proof of reserve. Now, why Chainlink? It's an established, they've been around for ages, right? They work with huge companies. There's quite a bit of infrastructure set up over there. They have many, they have a wide Oracle network. They have support, and just it makes sense if you're going to go to large markets, to basically show that you have this size network behind you, that you're bringing this technology. It's new technology, but don't worry about it because we got this large network behind us. It's the same thing as, you go somewhere and you say we're building on Cardano versus building on Chain X that is, somewhere there on the bottom. Now, Chain X somewhere there on the bottom could be very good. It could have all the tooling, but the size of the network, the brand, the available, the bandwidth is what a lot of times you would need to be able to bring on these the larger parties and the more legacy parties. So yeah, like I said, that's it in a nutshell. Now the solution that we're going to, so what we're doing is we're tokenizing warehouse receipts, and we're utilizing their Oracle network for, we're going to be utilizing for proof of reserve, which is going to be used for creating the warehouse receipts and trading warehouse receipts, and then also for essentially then clearing warehouse receipts. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be coupling this with IoT devices, which are also going to be used for de-risking profiles for these commodities. So all three of these are going to essentially create this new, more digitized, more modern way of creating de-risking profiles with warehouse receipts, that we believe that this is going to be a game changer, not just for Palmyra enterprise, so enterprise solutions that we can offer to other exchanges, to commodities exchanges, but also just in general for decentralized trade financing. Now, of course, it has to be noted that the Chainlink is what we're doing are proxy contracts. So, like for example, Charlie 3 is a native Cardano Oracle. Orca Orcas as well as a OrcaFact, sorry, as well is another native Cardano oracle. Ergo has oracles as well. Ergo, there are oracles operating on Ergo. Now, there are different, so there are risk assumptions, and there are, of course, development assumptions that you can take on, or that you have to take on when you're choosing to do proxy versus native. In our case, it is streamlined enough, secure enough, and basically viable enough to use what we're using. So basically, the developers of Winter Protocol, Luca and Shashir, have found the way to securely use proxy contracts with Chainlink's technology, essentially embedding it into the Winter Protocol, and and not just allowing us to use it, but now anybody can use it because our code is open source. Winter Protocol is open source, and it's available on Ergo and Cardano. And so this is not a substitute for companies like Charlie 3. It's not. Charlie 3 is a great Oracle provider, and we are going to be working with several Oracle providers because we have several different use cases for oracles. And this is commodity trade. This is not just, there's not just one type of oracle that's needed. There are many different types of oracles that are needed. And so in this case, we were working with Chainlink because it makes the most sense for us. Like I said, the company itself, I'll tell you, I know there's been a bit of friction out there after the announcement back in, I think, in like 2020 or something like that, right? Or 2021, or was it
some of the summits I can't even remember now, but it's a while ago.
And we heard this, and whatever happened, and I think the community kind of got a bad image of the company. But I'll tell you, our dealing with Chainlink has been nothing but thumbs up. Very professional. We did not feel any kind of tribalism, any kind of like you're working, you're Cardano and Ergo, we don't want to work with you. They're like, Cardano project, cool. Ergo project, cool. Okay, let's do business. That was the vibe out there, right? And essentially what we did was we brought them into the ecosystem. We brought them to work with a Cardano project. And like I said, it's not a native integration, but they are working with a Cardano Ergo project.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any other Cardano Ergo project that they're working with right now. So yes, we brought them into the ecosystem. We're going to be, we're doing joint comms. We're working with their architects. So this is real business. We're doing real work with them, and it's super exciting for us because, like I said, go ahead, Paul. I'm sorry.
No, sorry. Go on.
No, I'm just saying, it was really cool because, like I said, it was nothing but business. Right off the bat, when they identified that this is a viable opportunity, and they're not just going to go, it's not like a revolving door over there. You have to speak to them, send out what you're doing. They will identify you as a viable use case, and then they'll engage. But once they do engage, they'll put their best business development people in front of you. They'll set up meetings. They'll get everybody into this meeting that needs to be into this meeting. We're going to sort out the use case. We get to sort out the tech. And they don't just sign documents. We have to sort out the tech. We have to figure out how the implementation is going to work. We have to figure out what product we're going to use. And once we actually got a go ahead from their architect, we signed the collaboration with them. And again, very, receptive as far as comms. We were working with their marketing team. You saw that they're, they quote tweeted us on the Chainlink account. So it's just all around just a really good experience. And I hope that them working with us and them working with a project in the Cardano and the Ergo ecosystem will show other projects that if you want to go multi-chain, you want to use Chainlink, you can. It's not, you know, it's not a tribal ecosystem. They're open.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's good to have options out there. And back on the announcement of Chainlink and Cardano, I still can't remember what year it actually was, but I'm presuming it was a lot harder to build a native Cardano Oracle compared to what they have, because they're predominantly EVM based from what I
That's
know
right.
of them, but they are the go-to solution for any EVM chain. It's nearly Chainlink is the go-to. So they have a really good brand reputation there for being solid and being very reliable, which you need with your service. So the final one you have then, and then we're going to get on to the token that you guys have, and that is USDM was the final one, which is the native fiat-backed stablecoin on Cardano. And it's been great to see the reserves for that rising over the last few weeks too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, why USDM is actually the same reason why KYC are pre-sale, or why KYC the Palm token sale. When you're dealing with regulated fields like commodities trading, you don't want to screw around. You want to make sure that you are as compliant as you can be, because the further you get into the field of these types of fields, the more you deal with governments, the more you deal with markets like this, you're going to need licensing at some point. You know, we're going to need licensing at some point when we build out enough. We're going to need to have exchange licensing. We're going to need to have other licenses to make sure that we're compliant in procuring trade. This is why KYC is important. This is why regulated crypto assets are so important to work with in this particular case. So, you know, USDM was a no-brainer for us. You know, they're doing it doing right just across the board. It's a you know, it's a compliant, regulated stable coin. It is a Cardano native coin. That's a big plus for us, obviously huge. The team is fantastic. You know, I mean, it's nothing, you know, nothing but professionalism, you know, top to bottom. And again, that makes a difference, you know, because, and I'm not, and everybody we've worked with so far and partnered with so far, you've been super great, super professional, very just go at it. But that's not a huge paradigm in the Web3 ecosystem. You know, there's a lot of bullshit out there. There's a lot of people that are just screwing around. They don't really know how to do business. All they know how to do is, you know, pump and dump and bullshit around. You can't have that if you're running a real business, a real company. You know, Cardano has real companies. You know, Zengate is a real company. We're not just some random group of anons. You know, we're a real doxed company of people doing a business. So is USDM. You know, USDM is a company, is a business. You know, Charlie 3 is a business. You know, and you have to think about that. There are a lot of businesses in our ecosystem, and if you're doing business in a regulated way, you need to have regulated assets like USDM as a payment option. And why stables? Well, I'll tell you. At first, we weren't even thinking about doing any kind of crypto payments on the platform, because it's always you always try to kind of keep it very conservative when it comes to the types of currencies utilized in these types of trades, because you know, you say crypto, is a crypto, yeah, the Doge, you know, it's Shiba Inu, it's, you know, you get stuff like that, right? So you need to make sure that when you do offer crypto, it's solid. Now, like I said, at first we're gonna offer it, and then at one of the workshops we did before we built Palmyra, to basically understand what our prospect users need. When we started talking about payments, one of the first question, I think we were in Gaul at that point. I think it was the workshop in Gaul, and yeah, we get a question about payments. Yeah, do you guys can you guys accept BUSD? Like the what now? You know, BUSD, Binance stables. You
That's
want
not when you want now, anyway.
yeah. But I'm saying this is a a couple of years ago, but
Okay.
still, it was kind of like, what you want stables? You was like, oh yeah. I was like, yeah. No, we want stable payments. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's still a matter of remittances as well, right? So how do you cash it out?
Yeah.
Oh, well, what's your off ramp? So there's still that aspect that you need to solve if you're going to be offering them just system wide. But as an option, it makes sense. And as an
Mhm.
option, what better than to choose somebody like USDM, like I said, who's regulated, who are doing things right, who are Cardano native, and that's why we went with them.
Yeah, it's good. It gives more exposure to USDM as well, being used in a real world or non crypto business, being accepted as a payment. With yourselves, then, you guys also have a token which is on the T minus one launch pad later today, I think. Do you want to give the overview of what the token is? We'll give the details, and then if there are any questions, we'll take them, and if not, we will finish up then. But the token, what is it?
Right. So the token that Sam and I fought about for like a year before we actually decided to put it together. The reason why was because we didn't want to just put out a token just to put out a token. Too much of that in this ecosystem. Too much. Well, in the crypto ecosystem, not in our ecosystem, but in the crypto ecosystem. These financial assets are way too easy to create. And so everybody can just go out there, bam, mint some token that does nothing, and hey, it's off to the races. I mean, that's like, personally, that's what attracted me to the blockchain crypto ecosystem in the first place. One of the things is that it was anti-money printers. So now we basically are, either die here or live long enough to become the villain. And we're kind of becoming the villain now with this bullshit, with minting these tokens that do nothing, because I mean, you're saying that screw your money printers, we're going to print our own money.
Yeah.
We didn't want to do that. So if we were going to put out a token, it had to do something very, very specific. It had to be a real economy. It had to work to scale the platform. It had to make sense. And so it took us a while. It took us working with 01x, the company, to put together a tokenomics to really figure out what it does. And we came out with the three pillars of Palmyra tokenomics. And so the first one is a rebate system. So the rebate system is a great thing. So essentially, what happens is the transactions, and Palmyra is largely a transaction fee based platform. So that's how Palmyra makes money, is through transaction fees. Transactions are done in fiat because that's just what they use in commodities trading and spot buying and selling commodities. They use fiat. I mean, yeah, we will have options for crypto payments, and I'm sure they'll be utilized as well. But right now, all these guys use fiat. So pretty much all of these things that are happening on Palmyra are the trade is happening in fiat, the buying and selling. Now, when the transaction fees collected from this, what we will do is we will then create capital infusion into the Palm economy. The way we're going to do that is we're going to take a portion of the transaction fee, purchase Palm on the market, and then distribute that in to the stakers of the Palm token. So if you stake, you'll be able to receive rebates from the fees that are collected by Palmyra and transferred through capital infusion into the Palm economy. And so what that does is it creates an open ecosystem, creates an open economy. It's not this closed economy. It's not the circular closed economy that a lot of these tokens have, or cryptos have. You're constantly getting capital infusion from the outside. And so this helps scale the platform. So that's one super exciting utility of the token. The next one is Oracle's incentives. Like I said, we're going to be using a lot of different oracles. We're going to be using Chainlink. We're going to be using other oracles as well. Cardano and Ergo oracles are definitely in the pipeline. Oracle incentives need to be paid. The token, the Palmyra token, is going to be used to pay these oracles, because for commodity trading, for RWAs, you need oracles. It's essential. And so the third pillar, and again, super exciting, is what we call the Palm DAO. Now, the community's been, super supportive in from the get-go, from the start, from when I did that video a couple of years back, my explainer video about what Palmyra is about. The community has been super engaged with us, and not only by supporting us and saying you guys are doing a great job, but by literally coming to us with opportunities and saying, hey guys, I have an in with, say, the Greek olive oil industry. I have an in with, with the coffee trade in Ethiopia. I have, just all these different people, semi-precious and precious stones. Sri Lankan Ceylon tea came from a community member who later started working with us. He suggested, why not Sri Lankan Ceylon tea? It checks off all these boxes that you guys have. So for us, it only made sense to create something that would nurture that and incentivize that kind of action. And that is the Palm DAO. And so what it is basically is a decentralized business development treasury that works in a way like Catalyst, right? So you submit a proposal, the community votes on the proposal, and if the proposal passes, then you get funding from the Palm DAO. Of course, all these proposals have to do with scaling up and out of the Palmyra ecosystem, and so that is how you get funding. But again, this was done to thank the community for being so proactive and to incentivize further community involvement in expanding the ecosystem, which basically essentially is part of the sharing economy. And this is something that we got from Mickey, from World Mobile, is something that Josh is doing with Minutes, and that's something that we're going to be doing and with Palmyra at Zengate.
Nice. Yeah, I see similarities there with World Mobile. Like it's like you talked about there, it's not circular, the same money flowing around. It's one aspect I really like about World Mobile is there's funds taken from people using the service outside of crypto. Some of that profit is taken then and put back into the ecosystem to reward people who are helping as a part of that. So the token is going on sale today. T-1 is the launch pad. Right. You want to give some of the details on that?
Sure. Yeah. So this is a KYC sale. The sale happens, I believe, in about an hour. It starts. It's going to go on for 2 weeks, but don't delay KYC today. You can do so through T-1, and I'm sure Paul is going to put some details below, down there somewhere, about where to go. So once you KYC, you'll be able to participate in the sale. You'll be able to be one of the pioneers of the Palm economy. So super exciting. This was years in the planning, and it's finally here. It's less than an hour away. The entire team is psyched. The community has been super engaged, and we just can't wait. We just can't wait to kind of welcome everybody into the Palm economy, and to do what we said we're going to do, which is serve the underserved, opportunity inclusion, help leapfrogging, and just build a better world, just like projects like World Mobile, like Minutes, and like many other projects in the Cardano and Ergo ecosystem are doing. And that's what, like I said, that is the core mission of Cardano, and that is the core mission of Ergo. And this is why it is also part of our core mission.
Yeah, I'm just updating the description of the video now with a link to the T-1 platform and the Palm token still there for anyone who is interested. Can check that out in the description. Actually, it's over on YouTube. If you're on Twitter, then I'll put that in below this as well, or anyone watching over there can just put it into the comments below. I don't see any comments coming in there that we haven't covered in the conversation here. So I'd give any closing thoughts to you, Dan. And again, thanks very much for your time, for giving us more insights into what's going on and what are the updates since we last talked.
Yeah. Well, listen, Paul, I mean, it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be on your so what are the kids calling it these days? Are these still podcasts or are they
I'm told when it's on YouTube, it's not a podcast. It's when it goes out onto others. I still call them podcasts some days, interviews. I don't.
Get so confused. I feel so old. You know, I just thought I was being hip with saying podcast. Like, but it's not a podcast. Okay. What other terminology is there? But anyway, great to be on your show. Let's do a true old school. Great to be on the show.
We'll go with that one. So.
Yeah. We're gonna go down that road. Yeah, like I said, it's super exciting to be so close to be at this point. It is super exciting to be able to, like I said, to finally show what we've been working on. You know, World Mobile. World Mobile made a strategic investment into the Palm economy. Like they invested money in us. I don't know if they've done that before. I'm not sure. Maybe they have, but I don't think they have. So we're humbled by that because of the faith that and I guess the trust that they've extended to our project. Aside from the support, like I said, the support has been fantastic. Working with USDM again, like I said, it's been fantastic working with the guys. It is great to be able to work with somebody like this, like an adult stablecoin. It's wonderful to be working with Josh. I mean, commoditized minutes, I think, is going to be a game changer. It's going to be a game changer. Commoditized minutes. Come on, guys. This is awesome. And of course, Chainlink. Chainlink, like I said. I love it that we brought them into this ecosystem, that they're working with a Cardano project and an Ergo project, and that others can utilize this technology using the open source that we're creating. So again, this is, it's just all around super exciting. Years in the making, years of work, endless, countless hours, sleepless nights. It's going to be a few more sleepless nights for us now with everything that's going to be happening. Oh, and by the way, we're going to be hosting quite a few Twitter spaces. So if you guys want to hear my velvety voices as well as other velvety voices of the Palm economy and Zengate teams, please check it out. Yeah, we got something like 20 spaces planned. It's quite a few. We got like 3 spaces a day.
Yeah, I just looked there on Twitter and I can see there's one has just kicked off on Palm economy. So anyone that wants even more can go straight over there when we finish up here now. Yeah, if you haven't gotten enough of me and enough of the Palm team and enough of the Zengate team, head on over to that space from here, and you won't be disappointed. Well, look, Dan, as I said, thanks very much for your time. I've left the link in the YouTube description down below for anyone who wants to take a look, and I'll leave links to the project as well. We'll catch up in another while to see what are the latest updates then, and best of luck with it, and we'll talk soon. Thank you very much, Paul. Thanks for having us here, and yeah, spread the good word of Palm. Yeah, stay Palm. Stay Palm and tokenize RWAs. That's what we're all about. Everyone watching, thanks for watching. Please do share it out. Let people know what is being built here and going in depth into the different partnerships and different things that are going on with Palm economy. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon. Cheers, Dan. Thanks a lot.